Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.
So, Geoff Greenaway, thanks a million for agreeing to come on to Keepie Uppies. Looking forward to this chat. I know we had to reschedule it a few times, so thanks a million for coming on.
That's not no problem now.
So, we're going to start you off with a nice easy one. What team did you support when you were growing up, and who was your football hero?
It would have to be the Lurgan Blues, Glenavon, so it would be. Just football team around the corner, you know yourself.
Yeah.
Lurgan man, like, so that would be Glenavon. And I'll probably 3 or 4, like, heroes. First one would probably be Duncan Lowry, so he would be. I don't know if you remember him or anything, would you?
I would indeed, yeah.
So, like Duncan, he went to New Zealand and all, but as a kid growing up at the junior high, we went over there on a Sunday afternoon or something. There's been a load of us, and he just came over and kicked the ball about as well, so he would have, but definitely Duncan will be up there. Then Ray McCoy and Gerbert Mahan probably. Jerry for that goal in the 92 Cup final, like.
Two fantastic players. I started supporting Glenavon. I kind of lost touch then when it came into playing football in the afternoons. But my dad would have taken me probably the mid 90s. I think it was Nigel Best was manager maybe.
Yeah.
And there weren't really too many successful times, but the team that they had, you mentioned a couple in there. I kind of missed out on Jared McMahon. Raymond McCoy, I loved watching Stephen McBride, Glenn Ferguson. Wee James McCartney, I remember at right back, and that's kind of what in a way kind of gravitated me to play right back, because I just seen him bombing up and down the wing, and I thought, God, happy days, because I wasn't really great going forward, but loved defending. So I remember him, and obviously it was Mark Glendenning as well. What a left back, and
class he was, wasn't he? He was a good player. Always scored goals, didn't he?
Yeah, and hard as nails. And funny, we've had a couple of guys on in the past. Mark McCann, who played for Glenavon, just always said, like, Mark Glendenning just trained how he played. He just thundered into tackles, which wasn't a big surprise when I heard that.
No.
So would you have went to games home and away then? Would you have?
Okay, a lot of it's sort of like a family thing, like, my dad and a couple of uncles and a brother and all, like, we would have traveled up and down the country, like, home and away. So what early 80s, the probably same sort of thing. Nigel Best here, and then sort of started playing senior team football, and you know yourself, after that you can't get to the matches, like.
Yeah.
So you can't. But no, it was a good time, so it was like, won a couple of Irish Cups and all, so they did. And actually Jerry McMahon delivered my post the other day, and I sort of got in bars talking to him.
It's alright, is that what he's doing now, is it?
Yeah. So I was playing with a wee girl in the garden, and he delivered the post over the fence, and I went into the house all flustered, and the wife was like, what's wrong with you? And I said, Jerry just delivered the post there. He did. Well, that was like 30 odd years ago, like, but he's still a big hero, like.
What a player.
Yeah, classic. And he went to Tottenham and all, so.
Yeah, it's funny.
Career, like.
I came across an old shoot book when I was clearing out my mum and dad's attic, and there was like a big section on Jared McMahon. I think it was like young up and coming hot shots or something. It was him pictured in the Spurs top, so he was obviously highly rated at the time, but just didn't work out, I suppose, at Spurs. It's always difficult, and I think probably the change in managers maybe didn't help.
It was the Ardiles, wasn't it, with him?
Yeah, I think so, but then
maybe it was but
Jerry Francis then maybe came after that.
Aye.
But you know yourself, sometimes different managers, the kind of view players differently, and but still went on to, like, he was at Stoke, and then he was St Johnstone as well before he came over there. Yeah.
And I think at Barnet maybe as well. He had a couple of sort of
wee loan spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Class act, yeah.
Yeah.
He was.
And so would Glenavon have been your number one team? Did you have any sort of teams sort of across the water, like any Premiership teams, Scottish teams, or was it just
Rangers? But I wouldn't really follow English football that much, so I wouldn't. I just see, since the start of the Premier League, I think, I don't know, Sky sort of just pushed it too much, so they had.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love football, but it's over the top sometimes, like. So it is for me. But I follow Rangers, like, but...
Yeah, and speaking of Rangers, what do you make of the draw then? I'm a Liverpool man, so
yeah.
I don't know whether I'm happy with that draw or not. It's especially the way we're playing.
I don't know. I did watch the United match the other night, and I thought United were good, but Liverpool just looked off the pace, I thought.
Oh, big time. It's not too often you say that as well, Liverpool being off the pace, but
not.
I know they've a few injuries, but so does every team, you know, but they were just not at it. United were pumped up for it, you know. I think they've got so much stick after the Brentford match.
Yeah,
they're gonna be sort of pumped up for it, and then the atmosphere, you know, it was. I just didn't have a good feeling about the game, to be honest.
Just looked so slow and sluggish or something.
Yeah.
I thought. You know, but it's easy to say from the couch in the living room, like.
Oh, well, that's it. Yeah, giving off about Trent. He gets some stick, you know, but
aye.
It's
us
the defensive experts.
I know. Yeah, I seen a tweet earlier on about something about Trent Alexander beating the world's best right back, James Tavernier, in the match. So a little bit, but that'll be a battle.
Yeah.
So,
no, it should be a fantastic atmosphere at the game. And just last question on Rangers. What about Giovanni van Bronckhorst? What's your take on his in Europe? He seems to be producing the results, and obviously the fantastic campaign last year in the Europa League.
Yeah, he seems to set up really well for Europe, but then domestically, it's whenever teams come against Rangers Celtic, it's always 11 men behind the ball, and it is so hard to break down, and it's hard to watch sometimes, like. But he doesn't seem to have the knack to break them down yet.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that comes, and then in Europe, the other teams will come out and attack, so they will. Like, it does leave space, so it does for the Rangers players, but hopefully he does get the hang of the Scottish League soon enough, like.
Yeah.
But you don't want a big gap. You don't want a big gap there, so you don't.
Yeah, but certainly in Europe, they were fantastic last year, and getting to the Champions League is going to be huge as well.
Yeah. Oh, big money as well, like 25 million, 30 million. The Scottish League teams, that's shocking.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
So let's get on to your youth career. Give us kind of a lowdown then, kind of who you would have started off with, and what's kind of your first kind of memories of youth football?
Well, I'll go back, like, probably the same as yourself, just knocking about the estate. You know, there was always about 20 or 30 of us sort of on a Sunday or Saturdays just playing over the junior high there.
Mm-hmm.
And not many people probably know this, but I started out as a goalkeeper, so I had. And just because I was one of the youngest, so it was just like a pair of gloves was free at me. We're just going to bang shots at you all day. So,
no blasties.
Or certainly blasties, like, because I would have been the brother, and he'd have been a couple of years older, and his mates would have been there, you know, 3 or 4 years older, and they're banging the ball at you. And all I had these, you know, the yellow gloves with like the wee black dots. I don't know if you could remember them or not.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So that's all I was armed with, like, so it was. But then when my dad took me up to Largentown, and funny enough, the first training session, I can remember it, but I can't remember it. So like, back then it was like 20 laps and then just pick 2 teams. So I was doing nets, and I was coming out, and I got the ball, I dove on the ball, and then the next thing I remember is being in the hospital, and the nurse shined the light in my eyes. So I was sort of knocked out.
Not right?
That was my first ever.
It's your first training session?
So funny enough, I came back the next morning from hospital, and the wee pair of yellow gloves was in the bin. My mum cracked up, said, "You're not doing nets again." So I was moved out to the wing. So I was, the first couple of years I was a winger, scored a few goals, and then won a couple of trophies, like at Largentown. That was like under 11s, under 12s.
And who would have been in your team then? Would you have been the same age group as the likes of
Stephen Savage?
Yes.
Neil Harvey, Gary McClune, Davy Hawthorne. I don't know if name rings a bell. Just them boys. We had a real good team, like. So I had Davy played for Glenalvon and Armagh City and all. A couple of old boys, played Irish League. So we did. Then we moved to that Lisburn League after 2 or 3 seasons, and I never really enjoyed it, to be honest. I was sort of in and out of the team because like it was assigned a few big boys like Johnny Gorman and me just being like a wee lad. I'd have been smaller than the rest of them, but it was like just give the ball to Johnny Gorman sometimes and he had a shot from the halfway line and the ball would have just flew into the top corner. But back then it didn't need to fly in the top corner like. The keeper's that small like. So no, I never really got a crack of the whip in the Lisbon League, to be honest. And then I got lucky at under 16s because they changed the date of birth. I don't know if you can remember, it was like, it would have been July to July. So
yeah, that's right. I kind of benefited from that as well because I would have been playing with the age group that would have probably been a year or two above me, and I kind of did notice the difference. I suppose I was a bit like you. I was a lot smaller than the rest of the team, and I wasn't too sure of my position even at under 11. And then it kicked in, that there was a change in the age groups, and that made a big difference for me. You know, then I was suddenly playing with fellas that were around the age group, and I was able to get slotted into my position. Yeah.
Well, that was it. And then I had the 2 years of under 16s, and a new manager, so he was like, it was like a pre-season match, and I was on the bench, and he just goes, "Do you want to go on at right back?" I was like, "I've never played right back. I'm centre forward or winger sort of thing." And he just looked at me and just goes, "Just go play right back." So I went on playing right back and had a cracking game. And then the next couple of weeks, it was just right back, centre half. I started to really enjoy it, so I did. Like you said, I didn't know my position until then, and then I just sort of grasped it, so I did, and took it from there. But then playing the Lisbon League, you were playing Linfields and Glentorrans. It was a test every week, like, so it was. But that second year was sort of a bit of a heartbreak because I missed out in the Milk Cup and I'd sort of pinned my hopes on it. Even though I'd only played 2 years at right back, I was like, I want to play in the Milk Cup. But then I got right down to the last 22 sort of thing. And I don't know, there was a boy, Mark Davidson. I don't know if you would know, from Portadown, I think it was.
I don't know.
No, he was sort of in the Milk Cup with the Northern Ireland team at the time, but then he didn't make it. So then Armagh sort of snapped him up, and then that sort of pushed me out of the team. So it did, but I sort of got it then, like, I didn't, because I think they played Borussia Dortmund and all that year. I'd have loved to have went up to it, like, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. But then, the under 18s, I don't know about you, but we had 2 years under 18s.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
There was no under 17s, so it wasn't, but again, I loved it, and then won a few cups there, and then I represented the Mid-Ulster League 2 years in a row. Played Scotland and Wales at home the first year. We drew one each of Scotland, and then we beat Wales 4-0, I think, up in Moorview Park. That was a cracker, so it was. And then the following year we went to Scotland, but we got beat 3-0. But we played our United's ground, and it was a good experience. I actually think they got caps or something playing against us. We were just like a Mid-Ulster League team, so we were, and I loved that, like, so I did.
And it must have been class even playing at Moorview Park as well. I suppose the ground that you kind of grew up watching your heroes.
Yeah, well, I played a couple of times up there. We played Warrington. So we did. Warrington came over before an Irish Cup final. We played them on a Friday night. That now I'm talking, I would have been 95 maybe. So it was, but like I said, just playing a Moorview Park was brilliant. So it was always like a carpet. You know, he just knocked the ball about really well. But like I said, we beat Wales 4-0 up there, and I think they might even got caps. Even to play against Wales was unbelievable. So it was. And then we went to Scotland the following year, like I said, and even the whole weekend away was just brilliant. Like, you know, treated like professional footballers, so we were, for just 2 nights basically. It was a core buzz, like.
Fantastic. So, and there are memories that you kind of take with you. You know, you probably remember some of those matches like they were yesterday.
Oh,
whereas if kind of the wife gets you to do the week shopping, you're forgetting everything, you know, but you can remember all those kind of football memories. You just can't beat it.
No, and to see like the under 18 days, like, we had there was no internet, so you're going out on a Saturday evening over the Bond Bridge or something, and you'd have bumped into a Portadown player who you who you've had a battle with for 90 minutes on a Saturday morning, but then you go out and have a good crack with on the Saturday night and you find out the results and all, how you've done, how they've done. And we had been sort of always up there at under 18s, like, and that's how you found out your results. There was no Twitter or anything back then, so there wasn't.
I know you don't realise how I follow a guy, Mark I don't even know him, but I follow him on Twitter
Mark
anyway. Cause he always, yes, that's him, and he has the results up within 30 seconds of the full time whistle, which is great, But back in the day, like you said, you were just. I remember you used to buy the Ireland Saturday night.
Yeah.
On the back of it, you would have got the intermediate scores and the junior scores, whatever. But they might not always have been there because obviously they were printing that paper, that evening. So that's how you kind of relied on it.
There was always a queue at the movie shops there on a Saturday evening. The old men even just to get it. You queued up and like you said, it was the back page, intermediate B, Lurgan, Oxford, and all it was. It's all memories, like so it is, isn't it?
That's it. So then obviously you worked your way in then to the seniors with Lurgan. So how did that come about? Who was the manager? And again, what's your kind of memories of those kind of initial years at Lurgan?
Well, I had been under 16, so I'll go back then to under 16s, and I was playing the two matches in the day, so it was Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon. But the first time we were playing, I think it was Corner House on a Saturday, but I didn't know anything really about the senior team, and I got a phone call on the Friday evening from Davy Ollie. He was a manager at the time. He was like, the under 18s are away in the junior or the youth cup. It was an afternoon kickoff, so they were sort of struggling players. I goes, do you mind if you step up? And I says, no problem. First match down the park against Corner House, so it was, and the team talk. So it was going all right, and then walking from the change rooms up to the pitch, that walk from there in Lurgan Park.
Oh, flip, yeah.
Crossing the wee river and all. It was like a 2-mile track, so it was the pitch. And Greg Savage came over, he's the captain at the time, and he's like, and he's centre half, he goes, just listen to me, and you'll be alright. And there's a wee lad, Cord Foster, played in front, right midfield, and he was just sort of follow him, and you'll be alright. And I was alright, and but just before kickoff, he goes, we'll do this thing for offside traps, we're defending free kicks, and that's the first time I'd ever heard of it. Probably the first time you've ever heard of it. It was like, if we're defending a free kick, and I shout a number divided by 3, you push out. But if I shout a number that doesn't divide by 3, you just stay in.
Uh-huh.
So that's
so you need to be strong at maths then, for playing for these seniors.
I was happy enough, so I did have a wee bit of maths about me, but it took me a while to catch on. I was like, what's he even talking about? But the first one was a simple one, was 9, so we all pushed out, and then did get the hang of it, but there was a fella, Glenn King, he'd been a wee bit older than me, he sort of struggled with it, so he did.
Was he playing everybody on side? Was he still trying to work out that?
Greg would have shouted 12 again, and he looked over, and he was sort of getting
the fingers out
the pitch. Get up the pitch here, but he really struggled with 13. He couldn't grasp the fact that it doesn't divide by 3. So there's a 3 in it. He was struggling with it. He always struggled with 13. He was playing everybody on then, so he was. But no, I really enjoyed that match, and then we played the rest of the season, probably right back. So I did. And it was good. Working through the divisions, that would have been Division 4. So it would have been 1998, I think it was. And then.
So Lurgan Town first, they were in Division 4 at one stage?
Yeah, we started. Yeah. So the season before that, where I never played, we played in Lisburn League, but I think they won it, and then they moved to Mid-Ulster, so they had to start in Division 4. So we did, and then we just sort of worked our way up through the leagues, but we never really won any leagues. It was just always second, so it was and all, but that was the main aim, just to get up through the leagues, and then intermediate. But there were some characters, well, managers-wise, there was a boy, Tetch Clark. I don't know if you know him. Brian Clark, you call him?
No.
But, no, he had been sort of older man, but he was sort of player manager as well. But he hated, not hated training, he just, again, back then it was just 20 laps of the pitch sort of thing. But the three teams would have trained together, so it would have been under 18s, first team and second team training together, but his training methods was wild. It was just, on a Saturday, he would have came to watch under 18s, and he was saying before the match, if the under 18s win, reserves win, and first win for the 2 nights, it'll be just playing football for 90 minutes. And most matches he did win, you know, so all or not there. Have you ever been to the junior high? That's where we would have trained.
Yeah.
So it's like near like a 2 mile radius around it. So he would have made us do leapfrog round the whole junior high twice if one of the teams would have dropped points or lost. So he would have. And have you ever done leapfrog?
No. What's that like?
So you had to set off on just a straight line, like whoever's training. So 20, 25 boys. For about 50 yards and just a straight line, and he would have just tried to stop. So the last man would have had to just basically jump every single man until he got to the front of the queue, and then the next last man, he would have done it, and that was for like 2 miles around the whole junior high twice. And
right.
By the time he would have got back to the football pitch, he didn't even want to play football. And then it was just basically what he said was, just don't lose football matches and you'll be alright. So it was. It seemed to work, so it did. Worked our way up through the leagues alright with him. So it did. And then Nigel McCann and Big Minter came in. So they did at Division 2. And they took us right up from Division 2, Division 1, Intermediate B, and then the Intermediate A, so they did. But for them 4 or 5 years with them boys there, I'd say it was just the best crack, the best football, just winning football matches. So it wasn't just winning promotion and then just getting there in time right up the top at the Mid-Ulster. So it was like, we would have went to first year in Intermediate B. We were taking Dungannon and Swifts the extra time in the Mid-Ulster Cup and penalties in the quarter final. And they had Niall McGinn and Mark McAllister and Darren Murphy and Johnny Montgomery and all playing. They were good Irish League players, like. Obviously Niall McGinn played across the water, and Mark McAllister will infield and all, like I was just, I'd say them 4 or 5 years were probably the best football, best crack. It was like every Saturday night as well. The boys just knew each other from playing obviously for years, but it was like every Saturday night after football, it was like a stag night, wetting somebody's child's head, or just simply just going to Banbridge and just having a good night's crack. So it was, but I loved them era, like, so I did. And then they left. So what if? Oh, no, who came in then? Oh, Neil Adair. I don't know if you know him. He would have been. He went to, he only took us for about 8 months, so he did. But we were doing really well in Intermediate A. And then Glavin came in for him, and he went to Glavin reserves after about 8 months. And we sort of fell away that season. And then Simon Gilkinson came in the year after, and it just didn't work for him. I think he was let down by a few boys, for signing, and then we just didn't get going that season. I think we actually eventually ended up getting relegated that season, which was a bit unfair and guilty, because he was brilliant coach-wise, like, but the players just didn't sign for him. And you know yourself in Mid-Ulster, when if you lose 3 or 4 players and just don't replace them, that's just hard, like, isn't it? So it is.
And as well, I suppose if you don't get those couple of players and you're on a bit of a slippery slope kind of results way, obviously it affects the confidence, and then you don't have that kind of team bonding that maybe you had those kind of successful 4 or 5 years,
That was it. It just didn't seem right, You were going back to the club afterwards on a Saturday, and the crack just wasn't there, sort of thing, And like you said, it was just hard to get going. Like Hanover were in the league. I think they actually went up that year. Ballymacash, it was a strong hit. I don't know. In fact, I was into me there. Killy Moon and all were in it, and it was just hard to get going. So it was, but And then he left, and your boy Mark Remington came in. So he did. Well, he was helping sort of Gilkey at that time. And then he took over in Intermediate B. And I remember his first phone call to me. He was like, are you staying? Because Hill Street were sort of sniffing about. But not that, no disrespect to Hill Street. They won leagues and junior cups and all. But I just didn't fancy going there, like, so I didn't. And he was like, happy days, you're captain. I was like, oh, brilliant. That was the first time I was ever captain.
Mm-hmm.
Good captain. I was like, oh, brilliant, happy days. My cheers. And he was like, it was a very short phone call. And he goes, well, training starts in like 2 weeks' time. See you there. And that was it. So it was. Now, under him now, the first year in Intermediate B, again, we were thereabouts, like third or fourth. And then the second season, I think we lost a couple again, players. Went to Hill Street Institute and other teams, but it just never worked out again for him. And then he sort of quit halfway through the season. And then Timmy Lennon came in. Would you know him?
Yeah.
He would have
been there when I was playing.
Yeah, and Timmy would have been probably one of the best coaches, about at the moment as well. He was just perfect coach. And then again, he started off well, like a house on fire, the first season, thereabouts, and then just fell away again. But he done the right thing. That time he was like, players left, and then Lurgan Town, you gotta use the youth system, and he did, and he brought 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds every week, and kept playing them, and they were coming on, but we just weren't getting results. So we weren't. It doesn't work out sometimes. And he sort of left, and then Chin came in, Chris Kelly. Had a couple of years at it.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have been a good mate of mine, like, so he would, and there were good times as well. They were sniffing about promotion. So it would have been. But Big Dicko at the time, he was assistant manager. And I remember going up to Dungannon Rovers, but he was playing. He does nets. And Chris Kelly goes to him, do you want to say anything before the match, Hurley? And he goes, yeah, whatever we'll do. The first 10, 15 minutes, keep it tight. Dungannon Rovers took centre. And he let it back. And we sort of pushed up a wee bit. And the midfielder just had a pop. And it just floated clean over Big Dicko's head and went in the net, so it did. And I remember just standing looking at him, just going, you said keep it tight for the first 10 or 15 minutes. We didn't even keep it tight for the first 10, 15 seconds. So we didn't, but that was good as well. Like, playing under a mate, it's good, but it's hard as well, because I was sort of coming to the end then, playing wise. And my wife had just had the first wee girl, Ruby, and so I sort of cut it down to one night training a week. And it was sort of affecting me playing wise and fitness and all. And I see, growing up, I hated that as well. Not hated it. Whenever the older players was like, oh, I just train one night a week. So, well, and I still get picked. I didn't like that. I think you have to be committed to it, like, playing football. And Chris goes to me, like, just, if you want to cut it down one night a week, fine. You'll still play on a Saturday, but I just didn't feel right turning up on a Saturday and just maybe a Tuesday or the odd Thursday night. So it didn't. So it was coming to an end, playing wise there, and then Big Dicko took over the season after Chris, and I played a couple of pre-season matches, and again I was just training one night a week with no real pre-season. And I went up to I phoned him one night, and I had a good conversation with him, and he was the same sort of thing as Chris, just do the one night a week and we'll see if we can get you in on the Saturday. And I was like, that doesn't really float with me, like, I don't really like that at all. So I don't. And he was like, right, no problem. Come to training on Tuesday night anyway. So I went up to training on Tuesday night with no boots or nothing. And he just sort of looked at me, and I just looked at him and said, that's me sort of thing, I'm done. I said, if I'm not committed 2 nights a week and 100% on a Saturday, I just won't be playing, sort of thing. That was the end of that. So it was.
That's probably just illustrates kind of your leadership and your commitment, that, you realise it's kind of all or nothing, but Um, but it's funny when you said that. I always remember when kind of I would have been starting off kicking ball for Oxford, and you would have seen kind of the older players, that maybe had a child or whatever, and then they can't commit to training, or they can't even maybe go to every single match, and you're thinking, for flip's sake, like you've only got a child, like it doesn't change. But you see, then when you're in their shoes, you're like, holy smokes, because you've got the guilt at home, when you're going to training or you're going to a match on a Saturday, because you know yourself, when you go to a game on a Saturday, especially if it's a away match, you're meeting maybe at 12 and you're not getting home to 5:30, 6 o'clock. It's really your whole day, So it's funny how your kind of mindset changes over time.
But 100%. So it is. But no.
And did you go into like coaching then with the first then once you did kind of hang up with it?
I was sort of doing a wee bit of coaching anyway at the club, just under 10s, under 11s sort of thing, and I was really, really enjoying it. So I was like, I had to took like not the top team, just sort of the next team down, and sometimes you were getting beat, but even when like a 9-year-old scores a goal, it doesn't matter the score. It was always a World Cup final winning goal, and the celebrations, even to see the wee lads just celebrate, I loved that there. And then I've done that for about a year or so, 2 years. And then Lee's first year, managing up at the club, he had Paul Mercer in with him at the time. And I think Paul was the same sort of boat, where he's a couple of kids and he maybe just couldn't commit to it. And he sort of left after a couple of months, and then I was sitting in work one day and Dicko's name comes up on my phone at lunchtime. I was like, what's he phoning me for? I hope he's not phoning me to ask me to play on Saturday here. And he was like, Paul's left, can you help me out for a couple of weeks? So I was doing the under 10s and then waiting until the seniors come on afterwards. I was probably putting more time and effort into that than the playing days. But so after about a month or so, I sort of like, Lee, are you getting anybody in? And he goes, you? I had to wait, no bother. So I had to quit the younger ones and then take his seniors with him. And he brought in Stephen Beattie as well, who was the reserve team manager at the time. And he won a couple of leagues with reserves and also he had. So he done well getting that step up. He's still there at the moment. And we had a real good time the first season. We just missed out in promotion. Youth boys went up, Oxford went up, Rectory Rangers went up, and then we were pipped sort of on the last day by Rectory. But we went on like a 10 or 12 match unbeaten run in the league. So we did, and then we got to the Marshall Cup quarter final that season, and Banbridge Rangers beat us, and then the Intermediate Cup quarter final. So we went down to Queen's in the quarter final that day. And I just thought it was just a real big day for the club. Like, we were the last 8 intermediate in the country, so we're intermediate teams. So we're, but we got beat 4-0, and it was a bit of a low point. We're on a high going into them matches, and then they were beat 4-0. Obviously, but Queens, I think they actually went on to the final and won it maybe that year. They were a very good team. It might have beat Glentoran in the Irish Cup as well that year. So they did, and then the second year was the COVID year, the first COVID year, and we were flying, so we were. And then obviously that wasn't it the points per game averaged out, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah. I think when I was chatting to Lee, you still had to play the couple of teams, obviously, that you were challenging with. I think St Mary's and whoever the other team was, I can't remember.
Market Hill,
yeah.
I don't normally let things get them and fester on me, but that's like going on 3 years, and that still sort of annoys me. I know the Middlesbrough couldn't do anything about it. That was the way they worked it out, but we had still St Mary's to play at home, who were only 2 points behind, on Market Hill at home, who were only a point behind, and the two of them still had to play each other, so there's going to be points dropped, and hopefully we would have capitalised on, but it was sort of the rug was pulled away from us underneath our feet, like. So it wasn't, like I say, it was just, it's still, we still talk about it, so they definitely could have got a promotion that year, and then the next year it started, but we only got like 6 games that year. Again, it was the COVID. It cancelled it after like September, so it did. But again, going back the year before, we had only 6 games left, and it all sticks in my mind. Why couldn't have just finished the league the following season? You know, that might sound sour grapes, like.
No, there were some kind of strange kind of decisions. I suppose there were difficult times, and maybe they didn't know.
Yeah.
No matter maybe what decision they made was probably going to be the wrong one, but there were kind of some odd decisions. I think even some cup competitions they kind of stopped, but continued with other mid-Ulster competitions. It was just a bit, it was a bit odd.
I think St Mary's won that cup. They beat Market Hill in the final last season, the back end of last season, but that was from like 2 years ago or something.
Ah, that's right, yeah.
Instead of maybe just cancelling it or something, but that's, like you say, it was hard times and people just didn't know when it was made to end it or anything, what way it was going to end. But then last season would have been my last season of football, and we were thereabouts again. I finished, I think it was third, we ended up finishing up again, sort of. It's going to sound like a sob story every year here, but last season, with only 10 teams in the league, myself, Dicko and BD thought this would have been our year. Like, you know, we'd only really 18 matches to concentrate on, and we did put all our eggs in one basket. Like, it was just, the league is our sole focus, promotion. So it was, but it wasn't to be again. Sego went up and Dungannon Tigers, so it was. But it must have been frustrating for them because their season finished in like February, but they were always top of the league. So they must have been sitting watching us just going, just drop points. And we did drop points too many times, unfortunately. And we were in a semi-final against Dromore, the League Cup. I don't think I was talking out of school here. I think we sort of let ourselves down that day. We would have backed ourselves half favourites going into it. So what happened? And we beat them twice that season in the league. Sometimes it just doesn't work out for you that way. It doesn't, like, you know, the other team maybe gets a wee bit familiar with you and know how you're going to play, and they end up beating us 3-1. And then Craigavon City won the cup last year, and fair play to them. That's what they did. You know.
But I think when we were chatting to Lee a few months ago, I think he has been unlucky. You know, that first year, probably there wasn't too much expected maybe in his first year, but then, as you said, they went on a fantastic unbeaten run, and could have nicked it from Rectory if kind of results would have went their way. And then the second year was, you know, we'll not talk about the second year.
No.
Just didn't happen. But although when you look at the results, you kind of started pretty well that season as well. Scored a lot of goals, got a couple of wins together, and then I think last season then, which has probably only been his second, well it is, it's only his second full season. Yeah. He's in a good position. I remember messaging him about doing the podcast, and Lurgan, you know, Lurgan Town were in a great position. Yeah. But there were a couple of teams in the hunt for it, but there's probably just a few wee points at home against teams
Patrick.
That, was the AFC Craigavon, I think maybe got a draw or something. Yeah. There was just a couple of games that probably he would have normally have won, and that probably would have taken you over the line. But I think this year I've got an inkling that they'll win Intermediate B, and it was a fantastic result a couple of weeks ago against March Rangers.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming, to be honest. Fair play to them. I think they're Premier Division, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and they've started the season pretty well.
100%, great results for him, and like, I hope he does do it. And I hope the club gets back to Intermediate A, because a club like Lurgan Town, and I don't think I'm biased, you know, the size of it, like there's 600 playing members up there, and a club should be in Intermediate A at least, like. They should.
Yeah, there's fantastic facilities. It's just that Intermediate B, it's a good league, but it's a really tough one to get out of. Like Oxford, we're kind of stuck in Intermediate B for ages, and it might be if once they kind of get that jump into intermediate A, that can kind of push on even further. And they've made some really good signings as well in the summer.
Yeah, like Greg Harrison, he came from Hanover, and I played with Greg, so I did whenever he was just sort of 18, 19, but I think he scored like 24, 25 goals one season in Intermediate B. And he moved to Leon or Lockall or somebody, I can't remember, but he'll score for fun, I think, in that league, so he will. And then that'll help Ashley Gregg out, because sort of Ashley wasn't scoring, we weren't scoring and winning matches, obviously, then. You know, and then all the emphasis is on him to score goals. And you could, and rightly so, you could maybe see him getting a wee bit frustrated sometimes that way. So you could, but
yeah, so it's just interesting to see how things go this year.
Yeah, I hope he does. So he does, but he does put a lot of time and effort into it. Like, you know, the wife would crack up with me sometimes, not crack up, just sort of, you come home from work and the phone would have went, or I would have phoned him or phoned BD, and it would have been half an hour conversation, you know, about what we're going to do at training and all, and that would have been on a Monday night, and then you would have been up at training, and then done the same on Wednesday night, a phone call, and done your training on the Friday night, talk the team over, and then like you say, we're away all day Saturday, like, and then Sunday was a total debrief sometimes, so it was. But them boys, they're putting in the hours, and they're playing.
Yeah, and hopefully they get the rewards this season.
Yeah.
So you've obviously you've stopped playing football completely. Then stopped playing. Yeah. Have you found it, or what's it been like? Have you kind of enjoyed it? Because I know you have your blog where you've kind of been in and around everywhere. I suppose it gives you more time to do things like that. But do you kind of miss the football?
Not really. Sometimes on a Saturday, yes, but like on a Tuesday and a Thursday night, like say the night, I'd have been sort of not up to high dough. When I got home from work, I'd have been rushing about, trying to get the kids settled, fed, changed, you know, yourself, get them bathed even, and then up to the club for training. And I'd have been the type of person who'd been there maybe half an hour, 45 minutes before training, getting stuff ready and all, getting stuff out. And it's a lot of time constraints on Tuesday and Thursdays, but I'm not missing that side of it, so I'm not. Saturdays, like I said, like you say, I've got the blog going. I only started a few weeks back, just to sort of keep my mind off football on the Saturdays, and then I don't know, maybe in a couple of months' time, I will start to sink in that I'm not about or something. But by then, hopefully, I'll not forget about it, because I don't think I'll ever forget about football or Lurgan Town, obviously. But I don't think I haven't got that niggle to go back. It was whenever I sort of quit playing football, you know, playing wise, I was like, the biggest thing would have been the change room banter. I don't know about you, like, you know, like Saturday afternoons, the banter in the change rooms, the crack and all. But then I'd done the coaching, it sort of weaned me out of it maybe. So it did. And softened the blow a wee bit maybe, hopefully.
As you said, like I'm sure you'll keep in touch and get down to obviously a good few games this season. But yeah, we've started up in over 35s, which is great for us, because you don't have to have that huge commitment as well. Like one night training and then you have a game maybe twice a month, you know, which is on a Sunday.
Well, do you play games? I didn't know you played games. I thought you just trained.
I know there's a proper league. You call it the Emerge, Invitational, I think you call it, and it's all to do with sort of men's mental health. That was kind of the whole reason it was kind of set up. Right. And they've actually broken it into divisions. You kind of now got a Premier Division, Championship, and Division 1, and they've actually an over 40s league this year of about 6 teams. So yeah, we were in with last year. With Crumlin Star. Crumlin Star were pretty good. You know yourself there.
That'd have been good.
Amateur Premier team, and there was Crumlin United as well. So there are a couple of handy players. St Mary's was in our league, and Red Lion and Portadown. So yeah, some good players. Like Kyle Neal, I'm sure you remember, and Mark McCann. They were all lined out for the Portadown team. So it just gets you out of the house. 40 minutes and a half. 30 minutes and a half would have been a bit handier, but anyway. Nothing you can do about that, but it's rolling on, rolling off. Well, you get down.
So almost. No.
So it's good times.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap on with your Keepie Uppies, which
Yes.
I'm sure took you some time to. It's not as easy as it maybe looks.
No,
And as you said, you might end up offending a few people, but sure, that's
you
part of the
sent me a
course.
message and it's definitely how to lose a couple of friends in 2 minutes or something, maybe.
So the first one then, what was the best team you ever played for?
Well, that's just lurking time, but so I broke it down into season. So it would have been 2006 season, first year in intermediate B. So it would have been.
And what about then your best captain and best goal scorer?
Uh, Best captain would have been Greg Savage, just a leader, and probably from that first day, first match playing seniors, he made me feel very welcome and all, and did. Best goal scorer, I had a wee chat about him there, Ashley Gregg. I only coached him there a couple of years, and if that ball's in the box, it's going in the back of the net, like, so it is, without a doubt.
And what about then best touch and best goalkeeper?
Best touch would have been a boy, Philly Briggs, he called him. Good player, class act, but just unfortunately he moved to South Africa and he's on the bigger and better things now. He's a full-time photographer out in the wild in South Africa, so he is. And the best goalkeeper would be Marty Murda, so he would. Just class act and nets, like, so he would have been. Kept us in many a game. Kept me right as well.
And what about then best
Uh,
defender and best midfielder?
Best defender, it was a tough one. Like, I played with many, but the boy Callum Grieve, so it was he was a bit younger than me, but just done the real dirty work as a defender for you. And if the ball was in the box, defend it. I called him the ball magnet because it would have been just on his head or on his foot, and he would have been cleaning it brilliant. So he was a best midfielder. Would be a boy called Garth King.
Mm-hmm.
He played for us for years, and then he got a move to the Anna United and all, so he played a wee bit, and he's just a wee bulldozer midfielder, tackled, passed, got about the pitch really well. So he did. Then best striker.
Best striker, yeah.
It would be a young lad, Kyle Cousins. He's just lives up around the corner for me, but he's just big, powerful, strong. It's just a real downfall, just like laziness, but again, he could win you a match single-handedly sometimes. So he could. Just a real good goal scorer, real centre forward, old school centre forward sort of thing, headed, scored goals with volleys, foot, everything. What class so he was.
And then what about the left and right boot?
Oh, the left one, me. This could start an argument. So I've went Stuart Gordon and Scott Gordon. I'm going to have to put the two of them in. I can't break it down.
Okay.
Two brothers, and I don't want an infighting on Christmas Day or anything when they're And best right foot would have been a good mate of mine, Chris Kelly. Played right wing back. He just ping a pass all day long. He loved that Hollywood ball, so he did.
Yeah, very good player. He was the same age group as me. He was.
Yeah.
I would have played against him. I was at Lismore and we had a couple of matches against Brownlow and then coming up against him at Lurgan Town as well. Yeah, very good player. What about them best manager and player that loves a hard challenge?
The best manager, like I said, I'll go back to the start sort of thing when I was talking about that sort of time when we went intermediate. So when Nixie McCann and Minter, they just got the best out of the boys. So it was just, I've never seen 18 boys probably just being able just to go out in the football pitch and play the way we did. So they just seemed to, just squeezed every bit out of us. So it did. And then loves a challenge, Dixie Heasley. So they just, even talking to him, sometimes you think he's going to tackle you, like. A good lad, but he just tackled and he scored some goals as well, so he did, but he loved the hard tackle, so he did.
You need a few of them in the side.
Good centre midfielder.
What about quickest player then and best all-round player?
Quickest player, Craig McKeown. I hated pre-season with him. I don't know if he would have ever done like just the quickest man to the front of the group.
Yeah.
And like he would have just went off for 30 seconds. And so the manager would have left him to the end. And he was like, Craig McEwen to the front. And you're just going, oh, no way, it's going to be 30 seconds. It's just absolute sprinting. So it was, but no, quickest player. Best all-rounder, Cord Foster. He played in front of me for many a year, right midfield, and he done probably my donkey work for me sometimes. I tried to bomb past him and never got back. Could just see his face just breaking sometimes. So I could.
And then the last two, then player that got better with age, and then the player who always gives 100%.
Player of age would be Davy Hamilton. He's still there now at the moment at the club, and he came as a striker, and he was a fair decent striker, so he was, but we sort of moved him onto the wing there, right wing back maybe, past 3 or 4 years, and the amount of assists, and he's went in with goals and all now, good numbers for the season. It definitely with Davy Hamilton, like. And then player to always give 100%. There was a young boy, Timmy Lennon, brought in. At the time he was only about 16, 17, maybe not even. And Oran Parks just every week turned up. There was no bad game in him. He's just a standard 7, 8 out of 10 every week. So he was for 4 or 5 seasons. He's just a real good player. I think he got a job in night shift now, and he just sort of quit playing football. It was just a waste. Aye.
He was a wee right back, wasn't he? Would have played centre back sometimes. Yeah, he was a good player.
Yeah.
So he's not playing at all.
No, disappointing so it is, but work comes first sometimes, isn't it?
I know, that's it. If you've bills to pay and a few quid there or whatever.
Definitely.
No, that's great. Quite a few shout outs then to teammates, which is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And there'll be a few cursing as well if you didn't mention them, but can't mention everybody.
No, if you delete my number maybe.
So we're going to spin the wheel of Burba. So Burba's actually named after Lurgan Town player. I don't know if you played with him, Sean Lavery. Would he have been a year?
He would have been a year or two younger, funny enough.
Younger, was he?
I think, well, I know my dad coached him at Lurgan Town, and then my 2 uncles would have coached him up there as well, and then, but I know Sean really well, and I know his dad, Eugene, like.
Aye, there's some crack. He's playing for the over 35 team. Sean, not his dad. Well, his dad could probably play if you want.
His dad, like, he's fond of the running there, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Aye. Good family, so they are.
Aye, and he still got it.
No,
you know.
I don't think there's a saying that doesn't lose it. You never lose it, isn't it?
That's it.
Well, I might have, but
form is temporary and all that. So we're going to spin the wheel of Burba then, the wheel of Sean Lavery. So it's stopped on this hot topic. And it's regarding the amended offside rule, particularly with you being a defender. What's your thoughts on it? So the rule change now basically is when the lines are virtually on top of each other, they're now giving it to the attacker. Whereas obviously the last couple of years they've just, if there was a toenail offside, it was offside. Which, to be honest with you, I thought was a bit harsh at the time, and then over time, I suppose I just accepted, look, if that's offside, it's offside. Yeah. It's just in the same way, when the ball's, the way the goal line technology, if it's, a millimetre, it obviously counts, whether it's in or out, but now they're giving the advantage to the attacker. What's your thoughts?
Funny enough, I was watching a match last night, and a Rangers match, but there's a PSV striker. That's frustrating, I think. So he's clearly offside, but he's ran half the length of the pitch, and then he's touched the ball, and then the linesman's flagged. Could he not have done that like 10 seconds ago and just saved him running?
Yeah.
But as a fan, a total frustration, because you can see why people then get frustrated with the linesman and all that there. But player-wise, it's definitely gonna like a advantage for the striker, like, isn't it? Even isn't it if it deflects off a defender's foot even now? So if a ball's played through from a midfielder and it deflects off a defender's foot and the attacker's in an offside position, he's onside now, isn't it?
Yes, I think you're right there, yeah.
Now that's gonna that's going to cause many an argument, like, but I definitely think it's going to bring more goals to it as well. So it is. But as a defender, it's going to be hard. Like, do you go to block a shot or something, go to block a pass and it comes off you? But then there's a boy maybe standing a couple of yards behind you and he's going to poach one into the net, isn't he? Like, so it is. But overall, it's better for the game, playing wise, attacking wise. But like I said, as a fan, sometimes it can be frustrating because you don't know what's happening. You know, when it goes to VAR and all that there.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, I think the reason this came about was the Rashford goal for Man United on Monday night. Because when I was first watching it and I kind of cut to the replays, it said VAR was checking, I was thinking, oh, he's clearly offside there. But that was the example then, virtually the two lines, the line of the defender and the attacker were on top of each other. And probably if it was last season, it probably would have been given offside.
Offside, yeah.
And it wouldn't have made any difference. United still would have probably went on and won the match. But I didn't even realise there was that amendment to the rule. You know, so I think it's good on the flip side to be more goals. It's good if it works for you, but if it doesn't, then it's a bit of a.
You'd be raging, so you would.
Yeah, but
unfortunately, that's the rules, isn't it? What it is now.
Well, that's it. And then what do you think of Michael O'Neill? Just on a separate issue, he got the sack from Stoke. Would you take him back to Northern Ireland?
100%. Well, yeah, I would maybe give Barclough until the end of this Nations League, like, you know, but I know it's hard being a manager of Northern Ireland when you can't sign anybody, obviously, and you're just left with whatever you have. But Michael O'Neill was able to do it, and he brought the great times to Northern Ireland. For me, like, I'd have travelled before I was married. I'd have been about Europe a couple of times a year, following Northern Ireland home and away. I want to get back into that, but for 2016 I went to France for 3 weeks. The best 3 weeks of my life ever. So it was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah, I'm sure it must have been amazing.
Getting sacked today, and I was straight onto the text message to a few boys and the same sort of thing. And they were like, "Yeah, we'll hopefully get him in," but I think it might be still a wee bit harsh on Barclough, like.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I suppose it just. But in saying that, he's probably having a similar starting period to what Michael O'Neill had. You know, he didn't have it all.
No, 12 matches, I think he went.
That's right.
So he did.
But yeah, I was kind of surprised. Although I haven't really been following Stoke this season. I know they've kind of been mid-table, maybe his first season or two, but obviously they must have been maybe in a bad run of form.
Yeah, well, the only reason I would sort of follow them now would be with the betting on a Saturday or something. They're always good for goals galore, so they are. Both teams to score, but other than that, I'm a bit like yourself. I wouldn't know much about them, table wise, like, or anything. But I know on a simple one-word answer, yeah, I'd take them back.
Take them back. Be interesting. Purry and Barclough won't be sleeping now for he probably got it when he heard that news about.
You'll have a sleepless couple of nights now.
Aye. So that's us. That's a wrap, Geoff. Again, thanks a million for joining us. You shared some fantastic memories. 800 plus matches for Lurgan Town. That's some going. Who does your statistics, by the way? For
Scotty Gordon would do them.
Oh, does he keep a track of things? He's like the stato man.
But he does love it, like, so he does.
Yeah.
He would be texting you on a Saturday afternoon, straight after the match, team sheets, goal scorers.
Is that right?
So I
must do it
every. Well, he must do it to every manager up there as well, like. And I'd say that'd be a lot of time keeping, like.
Oh yeah.
So I would.
Fantastic.
I appreciate the ask and all, the invite. I very enjoyed it, so I did.
Okay, yeah. I think if you played 800 plus games, we'll have to get you on, even if you are one of our rivals. But
yeah, Lurgan Classic.
If you're interested over 35, more than welcome. If you don't mind putting on the white and red shirt.
Yeah, I'll have to go away first.
Right, well, here, you look after yourself and the loop. But no, that was great, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man. No problem. Thanks very much. Thank you.
All right, take it easy.
Bye bye.
Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.